Good afternoon, Ohio State fans, college fans around the country. It's Buckeye Bob again with another live post game. Remember to always sign up at patreon.com. You can always search MarkRogersTV. Obviously, you can always add a donation in there if you like, and it helps us out as well. So we have a lot to unpack here at this time, guys. Obviously, Ohio State fans, not exactly what you were looking for today, but as an unbiased fan, I call it like it is, okay? I coached basketball, high school and college for over 20 years, and I call it like it is. So there's a lot to go over here today. First half, second half, and what took place, and we're going to do our best to try to cover it all. I'll get to some of your comments as we go forth, but obviously it's a disappointment if you're an Ohio State fan. Now, with that said, it's something we'll talk about down the road here during the show. Is Ohio State deserving to still get into the playoffs? Because Clemson also lost today. So that was another one that had to fall. If the loser of this game, would they still be able to get in? So, but today, Michigan comes into the shoe and gets a win for the first time in over 20 years. And it's a 45-23 final. So again, I will call it like it is as I go down through the stats and things like that and how I saw it. It's my opinion. Remember, my opinion is not always the Bible, okay? But I will call it like it is. So again, keep the comments coming in. I will try to get to them as much as I can as we go down through this. So Ohio State and Michigan, the first time they come into the shoe since 2006, both undefeated at 11-0. And really, it was a situation where you couldn't ask for anything more for both teams. Both teams were hurting. They've got guys out. Blake Corum tried to go. I knew he was not going to be able to go. He tried to go. You saw him try to make one cut. The way he plays, it was going to be impossible for him to maintain that with that knee injury, okay? So he tried to give it a go. You've got Donovan Edwards with a broken hand and a cast on. Tommy Eichenberg's got 2 casts on his hands for Ohio State. Travion Henderson's out. Mayan Williams came back today. He tried to get some run going. He had some decent go early on, but they really relied on Chip Trayanum. Chip Trayanum was the first time that he's played all year, so at running back. But again, I'll try to cover it down as much as I can here as we go along. So again, Michigan comes in, does what they have to do, made the plays down the stretch, and they get out of the shoe with a 45-23 win. They'll move on to play most likely Purdue. Purdue will try to win that west side of the Big Ten. The west side's been a mess, and for the most part, it should be a formality. I can't see Michigan, whoever they play off the west, having a problem, especially on a fast track in Indianapolis. So, but anyway, so let's get right into this and see what my thoughts were. And like I said, I'll get to your comments as much as I can, and we'll go from there. So Michigan wins a toss, and they defer. And I really thought they should have taken the ball, to be honest with you, to keep Ohio State's offense off the field. But they elect to go ahead and kick off to Ohio State. And what's Ohio State do? They go on a 12-play drive. They run it right down the field in 5 minutes. They go 81 yards. They're 3 for 3 on third down. Xavier Johnson had a big run. If you remember, Ohio State got behind the sticks a little bit after a false start, I believe it was. It was about a 2nd and 15. They run a little bit of a reverse to Xavier Johnson, who I like to call the Swiss Army knife for Ohio State. He ends up picking up big yardage. And then it actually was a 3rd and 1 later in that drive where they thought Michigan was offsides. They snapped it quick, and there was no flag, but guys kind of stopped. But C.J. Stroud went ahead and tossed one way out there on the left side, and Marvin Harrison does what he does, makes a great catch, continues that drive going, and Ohio State eventually punches it in. They hit Emeka Egbuka on a 4-yard touchdown pass, and it's 7-0 Ohio State. That was another third down play too. So, one of the keys I was looking at in this game today was scoring in the red zone. Michigan has struggled scoring in the red zone. Ohio State has not. So Ohio State did what they had to do in that first drive by scoring in the red zone. So back goes Michigan. So they go ahead and kick off to Michigan. And so how does Michigan respond? That's what you want to see. Now, here they are. They got punched in the mouth right out of the gate by Ohio State. So how is Michigan going to respond? Well, they go 10 plays. They take about 4 minutes off. There's a big play on third down for them during that drive. There was an intentional grounding play, though, where it knocked Michigan back. So Michigan had a great drive going. Ohio State dials up a blitz. They have really McCarthy. He tries dumping it off on a screenplay, and a lineman actually knocks it down. So there's that big intentional grounding play there. But, again, the Lou Groza guy, Jake Moody, who I think is the best kicker in the country, he comes out, pops a 49-yard field goal. So Michigan responds, which is what you're hoping they do. So that's exactly what they did. They don't tie it up, but they do go down, put a drive together. Remember, there was a big play, too. Ronnie Bell, McCarthy rolled out to his left, and Denzel Burke for Ohio State kind of lost his footing, and Ronnie Bell broke his route and turned upfield, and McCarthy was able to put it on him. So good play by Michigan and McCarthy, and that became really the theme for the day for the most part later in the game for Michigan. So that's what led to that field goal, or Ohio State gets off the field and then forces Michigan to punt. But it's 7-3. So Ohio State then gets the ball right back, and they go right back to work on offense again. They go 10 plays, 58 yards. There's a 32-yard pass play to Emeka Egbuka. And there's a face mask penalty as well involved on that drive that put Ohio State right back in the red zone again. And so can Ohio State stick it in this time? Well, this time I was a little bit disappointed in some of the play calling there with what Ohio State did. So a little bit disappointed on the play calling down inside the red zone. But Michigan bows up, and they end up getting a stop and hold Ohio State to a field goal. So Noah Ruggles comes in, and he boots the field goal to go up 10-3. And so there you go. So we got 10-3, kickoff back to Michigan. And now the Ohio State's defense is starting to assert themselves a little bit. They get Michigan on a 3-and-out, just what you're looking to do, okay? I always talk about this in my breakdowns. When you get scored on or when you score, how do you react both defensively and offensively? Are you able to come back and put points back on the board, or are you able to get the team to go 3-and-out? That's exactly what Ohio State did here defensively. They're able to get Michigan to go 3-and-out, and Ohio State goes right back on a drive again. They march it right back down the field, and this was a little bit of an omen towards the rest of the game. So they end up on a fourth down play here, and it's like about a 4th and 2, 4th and 3. Ryan Day elects not to take the points. He figures, let's go for it. And Cade Stover runs right down the seam. He has him, and Michigan guy's right there, but it hits Stover's hands. Stover has made those catches all year. He really has. So this one, though, he doesn't make the play. They end up dropping it, and Michigan takes over. So what does Michigan end up doing then? And this is where really I feel the game changed, okay? They have Michigan basically reeling a little bit offensively, okay? There's a 3-and-out. There's another 3-and-out. And then Michigan ends up in a 3rd and long, and Jim Knowles decides to go with an all-out kitchen sink blitz, and McCarthy off his back foot makes a throw out into the flat. This was very, very similar to the Penn State game when Ohio State was playing Penn State. Ohio State was in complete control of that game in Happy Valley. Same thing here. Ohio State's in complete control of this game at this time, and they end up throwing a pass out in the flat. Now, if you don't make the tackle, and that's exactly what happened at Penn State, same thing happened here at Ohio State. We don't make the tackle, and Johnson ends up breaking it off. He goes down the sideline. Jack Sawyer had one shot at him to try to get him, and Johnson's a little bit too fast. He ends up going, what is it? He ends up going, they end up going 70 yards, and all of it basically on that play, about 65 of it on that play. So right there, now you're sitting there and you're saying to yourself, Ohio State was just dominating this entire first half, and yet it's 10-10 right now, okay? Michigan makes the play, and it's 10-10. So what did I just talk about? How do teams respond after they've been scored on, or they score? Can they get stops or whatever? So Ohio State takes over, and they end up getting a first down, but they end up having to punt. So Michigan does a good job. They stand up, and they end up making the play, and then they force Ohio State to punt. So, again, Ohio State is in control of this game midway through the first quarter, part of the second quarter, all right? So Michigan, all they were doing was they were just kind of hanging around, okay? So it ends up now you've got a 10-10 score, and Ohio State ends up, they hold Michigan, get the ball back. So they're in decent shape. Ohio State goes 6 plays. Chip Trainum, who ends up coming in, it's the first time he's run the ball all year. Remember, Chip Trainum is a transfer from Arizona State. He came in as a linebacker. He played running back at Arizona State, though, but he came into Penn State or Ohio State to play linebacker. And because of injuries, he started to carry the ball in practice. He got hurt. This was the first game that he actually carried the ball with meaningful snaps. Now, the part that Ohio State fans are going to ask and wonder about is, why not Dallin Hayden? I don't get it. Dallin Hayden, we couldn't understand what was going on there. He had 146 yards the last game against Maryland. He has 3 touchdowns, and he only touches it a few times today. So I don't know if there's a security issue there with the ball, if he's a little bit lax with the ball, but they trusted him at Maryland in a close game. How do you not trust him now? Okay, so Chip Trainum basically told that most of it, Mayan Williams, I knew he was only going to be about 60 or 70% with his injury. So as we saw today, Corum couldn't go. He tried. He can't play. Mayan Williams has that ankle injury. He tried to go, and he only ended up with about 8 carries on the day. But Ohio State's able to put a drive together and train him with a nice play, Harrison with a big play, and Ohio State's right where they need to be again here offensively. They got a nice drive going, but what happens? DeJuan Jones with a false start penalty puts Ohio State behind the sticks, okay? And the thing about Michigan, what they did basically all first half, they were trying to eliminate those big plays. A lot of too high safety. They were letting Ohio State go ahead. You're not beating us over the top. We're going to let you run the ball and do what you do, and that's that. So that's what they were doing. So basically, Stroud had time, but because of the way they were playing defense, it was hard for him to make plays down the field. So because of the false start penalty on DeJuan Jones, it puts Ohio State behind the sticks, and now Michigan does a great job by getting off the field on 3rd down, which was a problem for Ohio State later, all total, as I'll tell you. And Noah Ruggles comes in, though, and does a great job, 47-yard field goal. Again, 47-yard field goals aren't automatic. Does a great job, knocks it through, puts Ohio State up 13-10. So, again, Ohio State had the momentum taken away. They were able to get the momentum back, and here you are. So now let's see how Michigan reacts. How do they react? Well, you got to give Johnson for Michigan credit here. They go play action. he turns, I believe it was Lathan Ransom, around, runs an unbelievable route. He runs a corner post route and is wide open. Everyone talked about McCarthy not being able to throw the ball downfield. Well, he was able to make the play here, and he ends up laying it out there. He was so wide open, there wasn't like there had to be a ton of touch on the play, okay? Just get it out there, throw it out there, let your man run under it. Just don't overthrow him, okay? And that's what he did. And before you know it, it's 17-13. Michigan on one play snatches the momentum right back. And you're like, what in the world just happened? Okay. So again, as I've said, you give Michigan credit when there's credit that has to be said here. Okay. They made a great play here. They come right out. McCarthy makes the play. Johnson with the catch. You got one score and a touchdown. So Ohio State's back down 17-13. So what do I talk about again? How does Ohio State recover now? And true to their game, as Ohio State has done basically all year, they get the kickoff and 4 plays. They Train rips one off, and then you got Marvin Harrison. The one time Michigan got out of what they were doing, they tried to blitz. They brought that safety all the way down, which then left man coverage on the outside, and Marvin Harrison 8 out of 10 times is going to beat man coverage. And Stroud lays it out there up the right sideline. Harrison makes a great catch, goes into the end zone, and just like that, it's 17-13 or 20-17. I'm sorry. Ohio State retakes the lead. And again, Ohio State then on defense, they played very, very good first half defensively. Outstanding, especially against the run. That was the big question mark. Can you hold up against the run? Well, Ohio State, they get a 3-and-out. There's a 3rd and 1. Ohio State gets a huge stop on 3rd and 1, forces Michigan to punt. And this is where I think, you got to give credit to Michigan, because Ohio State takes over with, I believe it was about 2.5 minutes left. And if they go down and get points, especially a touchdown, you talk about momentum going into the half right there, because Michigan's going to receive the second half kick. So Michigan gets Ohio State to go 3-and-out. And basically that was huge, because Ohio State then knows they got to punt it back to Michigan. And really, Michigan decides they wanted to take some shots, it looked like, but after a false start penalty, couple false start penalties, it ended up moving Michigan back. They realized, you know what? Let's just go ahead. Let's get out of here. Punt it away. That's what they did. Stroud kneels on it at the half, and it's 2017 Ohio State at the half. Now, you're sitting there as a fan for Ohio State. Okay, Ohio State's winning at the half. You're happy about that. But really, that game right there should never be where it was. All right? It should never be where it was. But you got to give Michigan credit, because they made the plays to put themselves in a position to get into the second half with a chance. So first half statistics. These are unbelievable first half statistics, especially what Ohio State did. Stroud was 17-26 for 191, 2 touchdowns. Mitch Trainum carried it 8 times for 64 yards. First time he's run the football since Arizona State. Maya Williams carried it 8 times for 34 yards. Marvin Harrison, 3 catches, 79 yards, and a TD. Egbuka was 5 catches for 53 yards and a touchdown, both in the first half there. Ohio State did a great job running the football. Remember last year they said, well, Ohio State can't run the football. Ohio State runs the football in the first half for 124, Stroud for 191. Ohio State puts up 315 first half yards. So, again, great job by Ohio State, but they left points out there, if you ask me. That's my honest opinion. I believe Ohio State left points out on the field in that first half, and that lead should nowhere have been only 3 points. But you're happy with the lead nonetheless. First half statistics for Michigan. McCarthy only 8 of 14, but he had some big plays. Now, they came on 2 big pass plays, all right? You had the 75-yarder and then you had the 65-yarder. So, but he goes for 204 and 2 touchdowns. And then here was where the game was, okay? Could Ohio State stop the rush? Well, that's what they did in that first half. Michigan had 11 carries for only 10 yards. Johnson, though, with the big pass plays, he goes 4 for 160, 2 touchdowns. Third down, you guys always hear me talk about what's the third down defense like, all right? Well, Michigan was only 3 of 8 third down. Ohio State was 4 of 9, all right? So basically a wash right there on third down, other than the first half, the first drive of the game that Ohio State had when they were 3 of 3. So Michigan was able to lock Ohio State up better in that first half and hold them to 1 of 6 the rest of the way. So after going 3 of 3. But Michigan only had a total of 214 yards in the first half. So, again, you sit there and you say to yourself, okay, Ohio State did a great job, but the man-to-man coverage, what adjustments are going to be made to start the second half? Michigan's going to receive to start the second half kickoff. If you're Ohio State, you want to get them out, 3 and out, or at least to hold them to a punt, whatever it may be. But you want to keep them some way, somehow, keep them from any points, okay? So the thing, though, Michigan all year has been an unbelievable second-half team, all right? They've been down at the half. They've been in one-possession games at the half, and for some reason, Michigan has been tremendous in the second half, and that held true today, all right, unfortunately for Ohio State. So let me go down through some of these comments before I get on the second half here, because there's a lot of people commenting. So let's go down through some of these. I'll bring some of them up if I can. I mean, Tay, OSU never adjusted as usual, and defense is as usual, gutted when it mattered and play calls, punt, field goals. Well, that's Ryan Day playing scared and clueless. I don't believe so, okay? I don't believe so. Again, in the first half, you got to remember, when guys are on islands all by themselves, all right, when guys are on islands all by themselves, it's a risk-reward defense. That's what Jim Knoll is. It's a risk-reward defense. So if you're going to play man-to-man and if you don't get to the quarterback, you have to give them credit, okay? You have to give them credit a little bit because McCarthy made a few plays, especially the one on the sideline when really Ohio State was dominating that first half. So Anthony Wilson, I mean, look, you need a new coach. Ryan Day was John Cooper. Now, again, I say this all the time. Who do you think you're going to get? All right? Who are you going to get as a coach? Ryan Day just lost only his second Big Ten game ever. All right? He's got Big Ten championships. He played in a national championship. He's gone to the playoff. All right? Do you know how many other teams would like to have that resume right now? All right. So again, I know it sucks, especially when you lose to your rival. But this is what a rivalry is, and this is how it is. Now, again, Ohio State could still get into the playoffs. They could, but Clemson's already lost. Now you've got TCU and you've got USC. So you never know. There is a chance down the road, but you hate having to get help. That's what you don't want. You don't want to have to rely on help, but it is what it is. You put yourself in this position, so you have to live with the consequences. I mean, Ryan or Rick. I mean, OSU. You could say what you want. They're not soft. Okay, you could say what you want. They did what they had to do in that first half. I mean, were they soft in the first half? I don't think so. But, I mean, they just held a team that gashed them for over 300 yards last year to 10 yards on 11 carries. So, again, the second half, you could sit there and say, well, look what happened in the second half. Well, that's when you're trying to sell out. You're trying to sell out and make plays. And, again, it's a risk-reward defense with Jim Knowles. So they were able Donovan Edwards was able to break contain a few times, and that's why he was able to rip off the runs that he ran, okay? I mean, Troy, I'm like you. Do they deserve to be in the playoffs? that's not for us to decide, okay? Whatever Ohio State gets is what Ohio State gets. That's what they deserve. So we'll wait and see what happens. No playoff, no bowl. I can't believe it. Benjamin, my man, thank you for the donation, sir. That is greatly appreciated as well. We appreciate that. Thank you much there. Which player is most crucial to stop the run? Well, it depends. I mean, so normally what you want is defensively, depending on how you're playing and how many linebackers you have on the field or whatever, it's the defensive lineman's job to basically gobble up the offensive line and let your linebackers flow and make the play. Okay. Now, there are times when the defensive line gets into the backfield and makes plays, okay, and can stop the run themselves. But for the most part, that's where the defensive line gobbles people up and don't let them guards and guys get up to the next level to block the linebackers. That's why the linebackers are there, hence the name, a linebacker, okay, to back up basically what's happening in front of them. So that's basically how it's looked at. Okay, guys, keep the comments coming. I know. Hey, guess what? You got a lot of Michigan fans that want to come in and troll, and I get it. And guess what? Very deserved so. Still, okay, you've won 2 in a row, but I'll gladly take the 17 wins and 3 losses that we've had over the last 20 games. So there's nothing wrong with that. And I give you guys credit, as I said. I will always give credit when credit is due. So, all right, keep the comments coming, guys. I will get back in here. I want to cover basically what took place in the second half, and we'll go from there. So Michigan gets the kickoff to start the second half. And as I said, we want to get Michigan off the field, at least hold them to a punt regardless. No points, all right? What's Michigan do? They go 7 plays. They go 75 yards in 3 minutes. There's a 4th down conversion, too, if you remember. That was huge. I mean, Ohio State kicked it out of the end zone, so Michigan took over on their own 25 and ended up they had a 4th and short. And Harbaugh went for it. Give him credit because guess what? If there's a bad snap there or whatever, Ohio State's taking over and deep in your own territory. And Donovan Edwards just gets the first down. And so on the next couple plays, it looked like there was a mix up there defensively. Couldn't tell what happened. You had 2 Michigan guys, 2 Ohio State guys. It looked like Lathan Ransom got caught peeking in the backfield, but Loveland, the freshman tight end, makes a nice little runs a little wheel route and gets behind Latham, and McCarthy is able to make the pass. So that's exactly what you want to do right there. He makes the pass to a wide open receiver. Loveland makes the play. They go into the end zone, and just like that, it's 24-20 Michigan. So, again, like I always talk about, get off the field, hold them down, whatever. Ohio State doesn't do that. Now the momentum is back on that other team's sideline. So how does Ohio State respond? After a first down, they've got a punt. So it goes right back to Michigan. Now you can feel the momentum starting to turn towards Michigan, all right? They took the lead. They hold Ohio State to a punt. Now, can Ohio State make a play? They do a great job. Harrison with a good pass breakup after a punt by Jesse Mirko. They've got Michigan pinned back. And I always talk about this. When you get a good punt down around that inside that 10-yard line, 15-yard line, can you get a 3 and out and make the other team punt so you can get good field position? And Michigan ended up with about a 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. And Tommy Eichenberg with a pass to Donovan Edwards on the flat makes a tremendous open field tackle. He's able to get Donovan Edwards down, and it forces that punt. So Ohio State, after the punt, what happens? They take over on their own, on Michigan's side, the plus side of the 50, okay? They take over on the plus side of the 50, and this is what I call the possession from hell. This, to me, basically is where the game totally turned. Okay, this game totally turned. You got one of the best offenses in the country taking over on the plus side. What do you got? You got Guy Scott Jr., okay, headbutting a guy out of bounds, all right? That's a 15-yard penalty on the play, so it knocks them back. Then you also have a hold on the same play, all right? So Ohio State hits Trainum out of the backfield. He turns it upfield. It would have been a first down, but the hold is egregious. It was a hold. I'm not saying it wasn't a hold, but on the same play, after the play, you've got Guy Scott Jr. with a penalty out of bounds, all right, absolutely uncalled for. So not only do you have the 10-yard penalty from the spot, which is about a 15-yard penalty or a 12-yard penalty or so, then after the play, you got to tack 15 more on it, all right? So it basically puts Ohio State in a 2nd and 30, 35 position, all right? You're not picking up many of those first downs. Now, credit to Ohio State. They got it to where it was 4th and 5, and that was one of the calls where Ryan Day, do I go for it or not? He elects to go ahead and play field position, and he elects to punt. C.J. Stroud wanted to go for it. He elects to punt, but again, loss of composure there by Guy Scott costs you 15 yards. So now you got to punt it away, and that's exactly what Ohio State has to do. Now, again, you've got now Michigan pinned back. So again, Ryan Day elects to play field position. What do? All right. This is basically where Michigan gets that stop after Ohio State loses that composure, and with the third quarter ending and into the fourth quarter, all right, because the third quarter ended at 24-20, but Michigan had just taken over. They go on a 15-play drive that covers all 80 yards. They munch up about almost 8 minutes, and if you remember, okay, there was a 3rd and short. Now, this is what I loved about Jim Tressel, all right? Jim Tressel always, for this game, kept something back, all right? You can always look back and see he always held something back, especially when it came offensively in a certain situation. And here you have Michigan, okay? They have a 3rd and short. They have a converted linebacker in the backfield who they hand the ball off to, and it's a jump pass. Schoonmaker, the tight end, is wide open, and he makes the play, all right? And that's what I'm talking about when it comes to this rivalry. It's always a play, some sort of play, some sort of thing that you have not seen all year by either team, and that's why Ohio State was so good in the rivalry over the last 20 years, because they always had something held back. They always did. And this was the perfect time for it. So they end up getting the first down play, and it extends the drive. Because if you're Ohio State, all you want to do is hold to a field goal, all right, because it's still just a one-possession game at that point. It extends the drive. So here we go. Ohio State gets into a position where it's 3rd down and long, and this is where I don't talk badly about officials, guys. I'm an official. I'm a basketball official myself. But they called the pass interference. I don't see how that's a catchable ball, all right? But then again, when you put yourself in that position, you put it in the hands of the official, and he elected to throw the flag and throw a pass interference call. So that ends up giving Michigan the first down and goal from the 2-yard line at that point. It takes 3 plays to get in, but J.J. McCarthy, which was a quarterback power run to the left, is able to run in, and he makes the play. So now all of a sudden it's 31-20, and you're Ohio State, and now you're sitting there, you're saying to yourself, okay, it's go time now, because now you're into the fourth quarter. So again, you're only still down 2 possessions. It's not a big ask, especially with this offense, but you know you at least need a field goal. You know you at least need a touchdown. You're going to have to go for a 2-point conversion as well. So Ohio State then they end up going on a 7-play drive. they march it right down the field. But after a 44-yard pass to Egbuka, they do a great job. Michigan's playing with 2 wide safeties, and that middle part of like the Red Sea. C.J. Stroud does a great job, hits Egbuka right down the middle on a post route, and Ohio State starts cooking. But Michigan ends up doing a great job on getting Ohio State off the field on third down. And so, again, it's not a huge loss. Ohio State would have liked a touchdown, but they know they need a field goal there anyway. So they go ahead and take the field goal right there. Now it's 31-23. So Ohio State goes back, kicks it back off to Michigan. And this is where I really thought there could have been the first terrible call as far as Michigan was concerned. All right. They end up getting a first down after a pass interference. I believe there's another penalty on Ohio State during the kickoff, another unsportsmanlike play. And so you got the pass interference, you have the unsportsmanlike play, and Michigan's right back basically in Ohio State territory. But Ohio State holds. And why Jim Harbaugh would elect to try an over 50-yard field goal is beyond me. I get it. You have Jake Moody, who's the Lou Groza Award winner. All right, I get it. But why not just go ahead, punt it down there, and make Ohio State have to drive the length of the field? Because if you miss it, you give Ohio State great field position, okay? And so that's exactly what happens. Moody misses it. It just falls off to the left. I think it was a little bit short. And now Ohio State's right there. So Ohio State's thinking themselves, man, this is a great gift for us right here. And Ohio State takes over. They get things cooking, but Stroud ends up with his first interception. And so there you go right there. You've got an interception, and Michigan then takes over. And on the first play after the interception, Donovan Edwards, with his first of his big runs on the day, breaks contain, and he goes basically about 75 yards down the right sideline. There was nobody there, and for all intents and purposes, that was almost the game. And again, Ohio State tries to make it happen again. They go down, and Stroud with another interception, and again, Edwards with another play. Michigan does a great job sealing off the right side, the offensive right side, the defensive left side, and Edwards breaks free. He goes 85 yards for a touchdown, and basically that's your final score at that point, 45-23. And so there you go. Again, Michigan does a tremendous job in the second half, as they have done all year. And they come into Columbus where they haven't won in 20 years, and they get the win. And that's exactly what Michigan fans are hoping for. I talked to a lot of my buddies who are Michigan fans. They didn't like their chances today. But, again, when they had to make the plays, they made the plays. So let's look at the second half stats here. Stroud ends up 349 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 INTs. Trainham ends up with 14 carries for 83 yards. Miyan Williams, the only 8 carries that he had were in the first half for the 34 yards. Egbuka goes for 9 for 125 yards and a touchdown. Marvin Harrison, 7 catches for 120 and a touchdown. Ohio State only 5 of 16 on third down. Michigan does a great job on limiting Ohio State to the big plays and getting off the field on third down. Ohio State goes for a total of 429 yards total offense. Basically, this was a second-half game. McCarthy, though, for stats on the day, he goes 12 of 24 for 263. He has the 2 touchdowns. Granted, one was in the flat, but he did make the play down the field when he had to, when he had Johnson wide open, and he does run the one in. So Edwards, who had nothing going on in that first half, well, up in the second half, he ends up with 21 carries for 214 yards and 2 touchdowns. Again, now, he has basically 150 of those, 160 of those on 2 carries, but it is what it is. That's what it all adds up to. So, and you have Johnson, who ended up in the first half with 4 for 160. He ends the game 4 for 160, the 2 big touchdowns, and Michigan goes for 530 total yards in the game. So, and they also go 7 of 16 on third down. So, again, great job by Michigan doing what they do in the second half. And again, you have to give them credit. They came into a hostile environment, and I give Michigan all the credit, okay? They come in, they get the job done. They win it 45-23. They will then play the winner. If Purdue wins, which they're playing for the bucket against Indiana, I believe it's in Indiana. I'm not sure. But all Purdue has to do is win the game, and they will face Michigan next week on Saturday night for the Big Ten Championship. And Michigan will have a second chance to win 2 Big Ten championships in a row, and their ticket is already punched to the playoff. Win or lose that game, Michigan will be in the playoffs for the second year. So, again, you got to give them a credit. Let me go back down through some more of your comments. I'll finish this up. I have a segment I call the highs and the lows, and I'll go back down through a lot of the comments here and see what else we got here. As I just said, I agree. Michigan deserved to win as much as it pains us to say. Yeah, absolutely. Anytime when you're an Ohio State fan and Michigan wins, yeah, absolutely. So that's what it ends up being. Now, again, right here, LSU will lose to Georgia, and Buckeyes will be number 4. Again, that's yet to be determined. We got to wait and see what happens there. Does Ohio State back their way in? It is what it is. However, whatever it takes. So we'll see what happens there as those games play out. As I said, Clemson already lost today at home to South Carolina. So regardless of what Clemson does in their ACC championship game, they've got 2 losses. Ohio State has to be Notre Dame fans tonight. So, yeah, I got to agree with you too that CJ not winning the Heisman, that definitely cost him the Heisman tonight, no doubt about it. Yeah, Jim, I agree with you. Third quarter, 4th and 5, and we punted. That sent the wrong message to our players. Hey, Jim, listen, I agree with you, but at that point in time, Ryan Day was trying to play the field position game, and Ohio State's defense had played well to that point, but that was when Michigan took over and was able to go on the 15-play drive. So we'll see. I mean, again, I love us Buckeyes. I do. We're all hoping to enter the playoffs. OSU Michigan Part 2, huh? Alex, we'll have to wait and see what happens, my man. But it would be something. I mean, how many times we see it in the SEC? You've got Alabama and Georgia playing each other for the national championship. Why not let it be Ohio State and Michigan? But that's something down the road that we got to wait for and see. Yeah, Jim, I already talked about it. Michigan always plays better in the second half, and they did today. Again, you have to give them credit. You have to give Michigan credit. They did what they do all year long. They were a second-half team, and they came out, and they did exactly what they needed to do, and you have to give J.J. McCarthy credit. He made the plays. Basically, what Ohio State did is they tried to put it in McCarthy's lap, and he was able to make just enough plays. He didn't have a great percentage, guys. He was only 12 of 24 today for 50%. Not ideal percentage when you're talking about quarterbacking, but he made just as much the plays that he needed to make is what he ended up doing, and that's how they got out of here. Bear with me, guys. There's a lot of comments here. I'm trying to get to them as we go. Anthony, defense adjusted to JJ throwing the ball, but not adjusted to what the Wolverines did all year. Ryan Day opened up the run game for Michigan. Very bad halftime adjustments, in my opinion. I mean, again, you can say what you want. Ohio State really, the game was basically turned, and the momentum turned in that late first quarter, early second quarter when they were up 10-3. They don't get the 4th down, and you have Michigan on the 3rd down with the all-out kitchen sink blitz by Jim Knowles, and McCarthy throws it out, and they go down the sideline with a touchdown. that basically is where things kind of went off the rails for Ohio State at that point, even though Ohio State was winning at the half. That gave Michigan a lot of hope right there. Absolutely. Yeah, Matt. I mean, one of the things, it's not our defensive scheme, you fools. It's the fact our D-backs can do their jobs. Again, there's times when guys make plays and guys get beat. Cornerback is one of the hardest plays to play in all of football. There's no doubt about it. So it's tough to play, and so it is what it is. And you just got to move on. You just got to keep working hard and try to get better. That's all Ohio State can keep doing. Bear with me here, guys. All right, I'll come back to some of the comments as they keep coming in. I want to go over my highs and lows for the game. So this can go from both sides, both on Michigan or Ohio State. Just it's kind of my opinion on how I see things. So I'll start with the lows. One of the lows that I talked about that I saw today was Ohio State's composure. They just did not play with good composure today. There was bad penalties. There were Guy Scott, Cade Stover, guys that you could rely on all year. The composure was not there, and that then flops right into the second thing was the penalties. Okay, so composure and penalties are basically hand in hand here. All right, you lose your composure, you then have penalties. Michigan never lost their composure. There was never I don't believe Michigan was ever called for a hold. They were never called for a personal foul or anything. So give credit again to Michigan. They kept their heads the entire game and never let their composure get them, okay? Because as the game wore on, obviously Ohio State, it became more of a pressure situation for Ohio State. So Ohio State lost their composure, which put them behind the sticks at times, put them in bad positions, and that's what happens, okay? Ohio State also the inability to make plays during the course of this game. There were several times where Ohio State had a chance to make a play, and they just didn't do it. The short-handed Cade Stover on the fourth down when it was 10-3. Instead of Ryan Day kicking a field goal, he likes to go for it. Ryan Day or Cade Stover usually makes that play. Cade Stover in the second half, again, give Sanistril, the defensive back for Ohio or for Michigan, a credit. He does a great job. Cade Stover has the pass for a touchdown, and Sanistril ends up coming with his hand, is able to knock it right out of his hand. So Michigan made the plays when they had to make them. Ohio State did not make the plays when they had them. So that's why Michigan in the end is able to go away with a victory in this game. All right. They made the plays. Ohio State did not. And the fourth low is Ohio State really deserving to be in the playoff? I mean, if you ask me, I would say no. You lose at home. You lose by 3 touchdowns at home. And, hey, I don't think they're deserving of it. Now, they may still get in it just because of the chaos that has happened this year. You still won 11-1, okay? And they may still get in. So, again, Ohio State has made their bed. It is now out of their hands, and that's what you never want, okay? You always want something to be in your control. Ohio State no longer has that. It's now comes down to basically a bikini contest on stage amongst those 12 people that are down in Texas that make this decision, okay? So, again, is it deserving? Well, that's not for us to decide, but with the way the chaos has taken place, Ohio State may get a second chance. We don't know. But if the Rose Bowl is where they go, then that's where they go. That's what they deserve. they made their bed, that's where they go. So that's all I've got for the lows, really. I really don't have a low for Michigan. I mean, they just did a great job today. And a lot of the highs, you have to give – my first high is, as I just said, you have to give credit to Michigan. They did a tremendous job making the plays when they had to make them and keeping their heads about themselves and keeping under composure. No bad penalties. They did what they had to do. They stuck to the process, all right? That first half, Ohio State actually beat them up physically with only 10 yards on 11 carries. So Michigan did not flinch. They held true to their being, and late in the game when they had to run the ball, that's where Donovan Edwards were able to make the plays and rip off the big plays. J.J. McCarthy is another high. You have to give them credit there, okay? Basically, Ohio State said, J.J., you try to beat us. Now, I thought Jim Knowles should have played a lot more coverage than what he did in that first half. Late in that first half, I thought he should have went more coverage instead of just so worried about having to deal with the run of Michigan and stopping the run. They opened themselves up and susceptible to big plays. And to J.J. McCarthy's credit, he was able to make it happen. He was able to connect. Him and his players were able to make the plays. And that's where you go into the third part of the high as far as the Michigan thing is concerned is, remember, it's a 60-minute game. I've always stressed it about Ohio State. People talked about Ohio State, well, they stunk in the first half, whatever. Well, I tell them it's a 60-minute game. Guess what? Same holds true here. First half, Ohio State's able to have the lead at the half, but because it's a 60-minute game and Michigan holds true to what they do, they were able to get there and get the win and do what they do. So, again, you have to give Michigan credit. As much as it pains Ohio State fans to say this, all right, you got to give Michigan credit. All right, so let's go down and finish out some more of these. Let's just take a look here. There's a lot of comments, guys. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to jump on today. Again, whether it's Ohio State fans or whether it's Michigan fans, I really appreciate it. When you win a game like this, you have the right to come and talk a little bit of smack. All right, you do, and I give them credit. And so if they want to come in here and talk and it chaps people's asses in here from Ohio State, well, guess what? That's just the way that it is. Listen, we won 7 games in a row. We won how many games out of how many games? We were able to stick our chest out, all right, and talk all that smack that we wanted. Well, you have to give Michigan credit. And if they want to talk a little bit of smack, well, guess what? That's what they're able to do then. They come in here and talk a little bit of smack as well. Yeah, I mean, it was the big plays, really, Prince. Again, 2 70-plus plays. Basically, you can look down at how large the plays were. There were huge plays all along because of the defensive plays. Now, let's say Ohio State gets back into the playoffs and they end up facing Michigan again. Now you want to see where's the coaching at for Michigan or for Ohio State. So that's what you'll have to see. But again, remember, Ohio State's no longer in control of their destiny. So again, that's what you have to wait and see. All right, a lot of smack talking here, guys. I'm not going to bring up everything here, but again, well, Rick, I already said it. I'm going to bring up Rick. Come on, Buckeye Bob. Michigan beat us at home. We had favorable weather, and we are shot in the first half. Second half, we were sucking. Listen, I told you. Again, Ohio State had the opportunity in the first half. They didn't take advantage of the plays. All right? Give Michigan credit. You heard me all this entire time. I have given Michigan credit this entire time, okay? It wasn't about us sucking. Michigan made the plays when they had to make the plays, and that's why they won the game. Ohio State has always made the plays. In all the last 15 to 20 years, Ohio State has always made the plays. So Michigan, the last 2 years, have made the plays, and you have to give them credit. So we did. We had favorable weather. We had everything at home. So, again, it's not up to us. Remember, like I said, all right, It's not up to us. So Ohio State gets what they deserve. All right, so we can look at this now. So basically the next time that I will do a breakdown will be either for a bowl game or for a playoff game. So it will not be for quite a while. So we'll just wait and see what happens. Like I said, it is a bikini contest when it comes to that crew down in Texas, and we're going to have to wait and see what happens with these other games, all right? USC has a chance to get in. LSU obviously will have a chance to get in. So TCU has a chance to get in. So you basically have 2 spots locked up. Georgia and Michigan will have 2 spots locked up. So you have to root for Michigan, you have to root for Georgia, and you have to root for Notre Dame tonight, and you have to root for TCU to get beat, all right? So we'll wait and see what happens, and you just have to play it out. Ohio State's done. There's nothing else they can do. Their bed's made, they're in it, and that's the way that it is. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. So that's just how it works. So with that said, not really much else to cover here. Again, I give credit to Michigan. They come into the Horseshoe, first win in 20 years. They get out of there with a 45-23 win. It was a tale of 2 halves for the most part, and I give Michigan tons of credit. So hey, you give them credit and you tip your cap, as I always say. You tip your cap to your opponent and you move on, and you go from there. So, again, we will wait and see what Ohio State gets, and that is the next time you guys will see me on. It will either be, like I said, for a bowl game, or it will be for a playoff game down the road. So, again, people, thanks for joining me all year. I really appreciate this. You guys have been great all year. And remember, you can always go to Talk College Football. Sign up at patreon.com, search MarkRogersTV. Again, I appreciate you guys for sticking with me all year. This is the first time I did this, so I had a lot of fun doing it, and we'll see what happens next. So in the meantime, I want to wish all of y'all happy holidays, depending on what happens, when Ohio State will play. The playoff games are December 31st, so I wish you all a Merry Christmas. And wherever you are, stay safe with your family and friends. And as always, you keep rooting in Ohio State, as I will, and go Bucks.